welcome to Mistress Business. Welcome to the show, everyone. Tonight we have a special guest. We have Bill Starkey. Bill Starkey, his camera isn't working, but he is still here with us. Say hi, Bill.
Hi, I'm still there.
Yay. So, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. And oops, let me see here. Okay, I'm just getting my board together here. But yes, I'm doing pretty good. Everything's good, and I have two doggies. They may make some noises in the background, but my one dog's having a bad throat issue. She coughs and stuff like that. And the other one's just like a rambunctious, so it might be a little crazy.
Well, we like pets.
Yes, we do. We love the animals.
That's right.
Whee! So tell me about yourself. What do you do? Tell the world, what do you do?
I am in my 22nd or 23rd year of teaching in the inner city of Indianapolis on the west side, and I'm getting close to retiring. Could be next. I mean, right now things are good for me, so that's what I do.
Awesome. So what is it?
I'm a Title I teacher, interventionist. I work primarily with kids who have been identified as dyslexic.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's so cool. I love that.
Yes.
That's special. It takes a special person with teaching. I used to be involved with teaching, like sidekick to the teacher, and you wear many hats when you do teaching.
Oh yeah, I'm also the crossing guard.
Oh, that's cool. I love that too. I love that. Oh, and I know the kids just love you. I know they do. And the most rewarding part about being a teacher or working with the children is that they love you unconditionally. They'll come up and hug you, and that's just the amazing feeling in the world. I love that, how they do that. So tell us about the Kiss Army. Tell us when you started with that.
I saw the band in 1974 as an opening act for ZZ Top, and I was really supposed to go see Deep Purple, and couldn't get tickets to that. So it was my father's idea to take me to see Kiss, because he knew I liked the band, and he had helped me get the first couple albums, because he worked for Columbia Records, and the albums were pressed in Terre Haute. And he thought it was odd that I liked the band, and he said, "Do you want to go see Kiss?" And I said, "Sure." And we went to see the band, and I was blown away. And then I came back to school the next day and told one of my best buddies, Jay Evans, who was my co-founder of the Kiss Army, what I had seen. And Jay said, "That's pretty neat." He said, "But you've not been to any other concerts. That's the first concert you've ever been to. So how can you compare it to anything?" And he was right. And so then I was lucky enough to see Kiss a second time, and this time my mother took me to the show.
Oh, sweet. So you saw them twice?
I saw them twice, and then the third time, I was able to take Jay, and he was convinced as a fan, and so then we went back to Terre Haute and tried to get Kiss on the radio, and that's basically how we started the Kiss Army, because it was a long time of trying to get the band on the radio.
Oh, sweet. And then you did your magic, and here you are.
Yes.
We just had a special guest pop in. Welcome, Sam Morris. Sam. Hi, Sam. Welcome.
What's going on?
Sam Spade.
How are you guys?
Midnight Devils. How are you?
Doing great. Good to be here. Thank you very much for having me.
You're welcome. Kandi's a little running behind, but she will join us. And Bill doesn't have the picture, but we have his voice. So everything will still carry the interview. Awesome.
Bill, it's great to talk to you again. Even though we can't see it, it is great to be here with you.
Thank you, Sam. It's good to be with you tonight too.
Awesome. So So when did the Kiss Army begin? What year? What was that?
I'd say in 1974 when we started calling the radio station, and this went on for several months till eventually Kiss decided to come to Terre Haute, and that was after the release of Kiss Alive. And we had had a lot of concerts in Terre Haute, from a lot of bands who'd gotten a lot of airplay, Doobie Brothers, Leonard Skinner, to Aerosmith, and all that. But none of the shows sold out other than Elvis Presley. Well, oddly enough, Kiss sold out. There's Kandi.
Hi guys.
Hey, my
So
co-host.
sorry,
There
I'm
she
late.
is.
I'm jumping in, but I gotta jump back out here shortly because I'm in the middle of a fucking crisis. But I'm trying.
Well, my video's not working, so you don't see my crisis. See? No,
you look great.
there's
You
no
look great
crisis.
either way, Bill. Hey,
The
Sam,
only
since-
crisis is I just don't know what's working right now. So
no,
That's
hey,
it.
that's totally fine. Hey, Sam, since you're pressed for time, why don't you take this opportunity right now to ask Bill a couple questions?
Yeah, absolutely. I was really wondering. When you asked me to do this, I was like, "What am I going to ask Bill? What did we talk about that we didn't get a chance to talk about the last time?" And what kind of came to me was we just got back from Australia. We just did our first tour over in Australia about 2 weeks ago, and I really remember when we were landing in like Sydney, thinking, "Man, this is the same view that Kiss had when they were landing, in '78." About ready to take over Australia. So I don't know if Bill, if you were involved at that time, if you have any recollection of when Kiss, it was like the Dynasty tour when they went over to Australia, but if you have any insight on that.
I followed them when they went through there, but I wasn't as intense a fan then as I was in the beginning, because I think once they started doing the solo albums and Phantom of the Park and stuff like that, I kind of fell off the radar with them some.
Yeah.
And that was also because at the time, the Kiss Army fan club was totally out of my command at the time, and we just kind of fell apart and never got back into seeing the band again until the Revenge tour. So I really can't tell you a lot about Australia because by that time I had pretty much kind of dropped off from the band to a degree, because it was a different time, because that was kind of even after 77, when I always say that's when Kiss ruled the world. And so I can't really give you much on that.
It was cool. It was a very cool experience, and going there, seeing kind of what they saw and almost retracing those footsteps was like it was a dream come true for me, and to be a part of it in my own band, with doing our own songs. It was really, really cool. And Kiss was still, even when we landed in Australia, was still just as popular. Like, we were hanging out with the dudes that had brought Gene over and brought Peter over for his final show, and just kind of the way that it transcended, and we became best friends with the guys that brought us over because of our mutual love for Kiss. And I thought that was one of the coolest things. Like, man, I need the stories. I need to know what happened. And they had all these great stories. It was right when they were cutting the Alive 4 record, all this really cool stuff. So it's a cool thing that kind of brings people together from every walk of life.
The Australia fans are very different, and I've been fortunate enough to meet some of them online, and they're very, very devoted fans, and they're very. I mean, it's funny. The fans that I've met in different cities, there's countries like Japan and Australia and even Iceland, they have some really unique ideas about the band, because they don't get to see them as much as we do. So they really savor the times that they do. So it's great to meet people like that. It's amazing to know that you can all be brought together through this one band, but culturally and physically we're so far apart. I mean, I did an interview with Australia, and they're like, what, 20 some hours behind us? I think I had to get at like 4 a.m. to be there for the. But I was thrilled that they even cared to talk to me. So I just thought, I'll do whatever it takes. We'll do an interview, and it was just a really neat experience.
Yeah, I thought that was the thing that would like hit me the hardest is just that we're going to the land of AC/DC, essentially, the home of AC/DC, but we're brought together by our love of Kiss, by this great band. You know, it's really cool. I'm trying to think what else that we would like to touch on. You know, I like I said, I told you the first time I was 15, 16 when I first listened to Kiss, and it was a different generation because it was right when Psycho Circus had come out.
Oh, wow.
So for me, I got the chance to go back and to discover those old records and discover the beauty and the really classic Kiss. You know, I didn't know.
Yeah.
But that's the beauty of it all too, is that, you know, a lot of people become fans at certain points in their history, right? I mean, Sam, you and I became fans in the Psycho Circus era, but a lot of people could say, well, you know, I became a fan in the 70s. I like Destroyer, or I like Love Gun. It's so, you know, the music can touch everybody, no matter what, you know, where you're from, how old you are. It'll hit you a different way, you know.
Very true. Like,
yeah.
For some reason, I like Dynasty. I Was Made for Loving You. I mean, a lot of people didn't take to the disco part, but I liked it. Of course, I like to dance, but I love the rock and roll. I love that edge of it, you know. So it's all good. I love it. Yes.
And Bill, the Midnight Devils just toured up, and we were in Fort Wayne and Indianapolis last week. Yeah. And had an absolute blast in Fort Wayne and met some of the biggest Kiss fans ever in Indianapolis. So it's like we were right there, you know, right in your neighborhood, and it's still going strong, and it's still the music, this rock and roll style of music is still such a big part of of people's lives in India.
The Midwest made Kiss, and it really hasn't waned any. And it's only fitting that they're coming back here to St. Louis and here. So I'm not surprised. I mean, let's face it, all the Kiss expos were here in Indianapolis. Yeah. They've been quite successful. So who would have thought?
Yeah, it's true. And we're about to head out on tour for another Midwest run through Missouri, and we're going with Pretty Boy Floyd. And I'm like, you know, this is great. Pretty Boy Floyd, such an amazing band. And no disrespect to them at all. Might I say this? But they're a Hollywood band, you know, and we're a band from the Midwest. And I go, these guys are going to have their work cut out for them because these are kind of our people.
Right.
Speaking of conventions, actually, and Sam, you can chime in on this one too if you want. Bill, is there any chance for a future appearance at the Rock and Pod Expo in Nashville? Would that be something that you're interested in? Like, bands and podcasters from all over the world will be there. Sam got to experience it firsthand this past March.
It would probably have to do with when it was scheduled and whether or not I was retired or working or not, that kind of thing. I mean, you know, once I'm retired, I mean, I'm not stuck to any kind of schedule. I was supposed to be at the Nashville thing that was the Creature Fest that they did.
Yeah.
The only problem was the stumbling block was the date, which was Memorial Day, which if you're living in Indianapolis, that's when the Indianapolis 500 is. And it's just to choose between the Indianapolis 500 and anything, that's just hard to do. And I would have been at that thing because they asked me way in advance. But then they said, well, we know the stumbling block it's Memorial Day weekend. And I thought, well, I just can't do that because of the 500. And but yeah, there's always a possibility, Kandi, because
and I gotta jump out here in a minute, but don't quote me on this. As far as I know, and Sam, this is for your ears as well, because I know you want to be involved again. From what I understand and from what I'm hearing, we're thinking possibly the week after July 4th, Rock and Pod.
And that weekend, that week after that, that's so long.
So keep your the weekend after July 4th.
Yeah.
Okay.
So keep your eyes and ears open, and I'll keep you both updated. But listen, Sam, if I don't get to see you before I jump back in, I was gonna wear my devil horns. They're upstairs right now. But yeah, thanks for joining us. If I don't see you when I get upstairs, have a good one. Thanks for jumping in. We love you and appreciate you. And hey, the record sounds great. The picture disc, yeah, I love it.
Thank you.
I gotta get mine yet.
All right. Yes. I will see you guys soon.
All right, see you later.
All right, see you in a bit. All right, so Sam, take it away since you have some short amount of time.
Yeah, Man, and the questions. I was just listening to the Kiss podcast today and just thinking like, the level that I've gotten into this band and how it has changed over the years from when I first got into it. How I was blown away by the makeup, the show, the stage show. But when you start peeling back the layers, the songwriting and the way that they do their business has been a very big driving force in the Midnight Devils and in my life. And Bill, if you want to talk about that, just the dynamic of that, you know, you have the greatest show on earth, but it's choreographed and planned and executed to such great perfection.
They were so way ahead of their time when they started performing. When I first saw them on television, I thought they were an English glitter band, some sort of a band that I had just somehow went under the radar with me, but they were just way ahead of their time. And when you had that situation where you never saw what they looked like with their makeup, and they very rarely did interviews, there was this mystique about them, and that made going to the shows all that more interesting, especially when you were taking people who had never seen them before, because we didn't have YouTube, we didn't have videos. I mean, you know, this is even before VHS tapes and things. So you had to depend on a still picture of what they did live.
Right.
So you can imagine when you take a friend to go see a Kiss show, and this is all the way through up to maybe even 78 and 79, it was a unique experience because you really didn't know what to expect. I mean, that was one of the special things they had in their favor. And I always appreciated the fact that, you know, Gene and Paul were always very detail oriented, and they were pretty much straight people. And they were one of the few bands I'd seen that were just so business oriented. So I can see where you get a little admiration from them for that, because they just, you know, they really cared about what they were doing and how they presented themselves.
Yeah, and it says so much about the band and the way that they would. It comes across. I guess you could say, like, you could tell that they planned this, executed it, and worked it to make sure it was the absolute best. That the people that paid their tickets, bought the records, got the absolute best that was on the planet Earth.
And Sam, even this is what they also had an uncanny ability. If something messed up on stage, they made it look like it was part of the show.
That's cool.
Let's say if Ace is playing and he falls down, but then here's Paul and Gene going over him with their guitars like it was all planned. I mean, they meant to do that. I mean, that's just that there was a showmanship about them that was just, it was in their blood. I mean, you got to remember I think it was the second time I saw them, they performed last after like there was like 6 bands on the bill. They performed last because they had enough balls to think that, well, people want to stay around to see us, they'll stick around and see us. And then they didn't come on till well after midnight on a Sunday morning. The headliner was REO Speedwagon, and I just thought, man, who does that? Who has that kind of confidence that they wait till the hall empties, and if you're left to see the band, you're left to see the band. Now, of course, the guy in REO Speedwagon said, stay tuned for Kiss, but only a few of us knew what to expect, because like I said, I'd seen them before a few weeks earlier in Evansville, and of course I had their albums, but they just had this confidence about them that was just amazing.
And the other thing was, like, if you were to take somebody to see Kiss at that time, their albums, while great, didn't do them justice to the live show. You know, even the live album, while it's great to listen to, it's exciting. Seeing that live show, there's nothing like it.
Yeah,
absolutely. And you know how you see people's live feeds, and that still doesn't do us justice. I mean, it's good that you can't get there to see the show, but it's just best to see it live.
Yeah, I think
more feeling. Yes.
My third Kiss show, it was kind of odd because that's when I realized that I wasn't the only one that got into the band, and then people started painting up. Something they never did the first 2 times, because you know, we didn't even have Kiss shirts. We didn't have tour books or nothing like that. That didn't come till months later, like in 1976. So when I started seeing kids painted up like them, I thought, wow, these people are really into it. You know, I mean, and the funny thing is, you could be a girl or a guy, and you could be painted up as Kiss. You didn't know who they were. I mean, because it was that androgyny kind of thing, I guess. I don't know.
That's true.
But it was weird seeing kids painted up like them.
Yeah,
But
I think that's really cool. And I think part of that idea we really take with the Midnight Devils is that it's like it's our show, but we've brought everybody into this big party, no matter what you look like, no matter what you wear, no matter what color your skin is. Like, we're all here for the same reason, and that's to blow the roof off this place and have as much fun as possible. And I really think we do that. You know, on this last tour, we did 5 in a row. And going into that 5 in a row, like, I'm thinking, how are we going to do this? How can we keep this energy up? I got to paint my face every night for 5 days straight, you know. But standing there on the side of the stage, you get that adrenaline, and it comes back to you, and you're like, man, I could do this every night of the week, no problem. And Kiss really, like, they're like the leaders in that showed us, like, this is how you operate. You don't give any less than your absolute best. Even if you're tired, you're sick, you're hunger, whatever, you're coming in. We're coming in hot, and Kiss was really the band that pushed me to realize, like, the limitations, the human limitations.
That's great.
Absolutely. Back to one of your questions, like when you see the kids and you see all the other people coming in and they're dressing like you and they're out there singing your songs, and that has to be an amazing feeling. You know, they do their hair like you, their face, the makeup like you. I mean, that's amazing. Yeah.
It's a compliment.
And you know you're around like-minded people. So it doesn't become a band and a show. It's the whole thing is the party, a celebration of just massive proportions. Even if we're doing it in a club, we still got the rockers that come out, the glam rockers, and the guys that just want to have a blast.
Yeah.
And I think that's the same with Kiss. It's exactly the same.
Yeah.
Yes, you have all different kind of people, you know, like the people who want to get really involved in it, and people who are just enjoying the music and just standing there, and that's what they do. And, you know, and it's just, you got to all, and as long as that the house is packed and you're having a good time, that's all that matters. You know?
I tell everybody at the end of the show, let's come over to my merch table. Come talk to me. If you want to talk about Kiss stories all night long, like I talk Kiss stories all night long. I'll listen to them. I love it. That's my go. You know, I love the stories and hearing the stories of like the first and second shows that you went to. That just blows my mind. You know, that's really cool. So what was the first one? It was 74.
Yeah, Evansville 74.
So that was Dress to Kill, or the first album?
Oh, Hotter Than Hell.
Hotter Than Hell. Oh wow.
Yeah. It was different. I mean, it was in Roberts Stadium in Evansville, Indiana, which is was a high school basketball arena. So they had wooden bleachers. So when kids stomped on the bleachers, they could make a lot of noise. And I think a band by the name of Point Blank played first, and Kiss was for second. And then after Kiss came out, ZZ Top came out, and I think they played like a couple of songs. And my dad turned to me and he goes, "Have you seen enough?" And I said, "Oh yeah, I mean, because after ZZ Top comes on, what are you gonna do?" And I mean, that's not to knock them. It was just really a strange fall. And plus, it was a school night on a Sunday night, and we had to get back to school the next day. And Evansville is like a good 2-hour drive from Terre Haute. And this was in the winter in a pickup truck. So we're driving, back home. And it was just funny getting on the school bus the next day and telling Jay, "Man, I saw Kiss, and you're not going to believe all the things they did," because I had no idea they did all that kind of stuff. I had no idea about the fire breathing and the blood and the sirens and the pyro. I had no idea. I mean, I'd read little quips about it in like circus magazines. But then when they come out there and start doing that, a good portion of the crowd was just as stunned as I was. And plus, they were unusually loud. I don't know what it is between today and back in those days. And I know that I had my hearing tested. My hearing's still pretty good for a band my age. But I still swear those 70s concerts were a lot louder than what we have today. I just, and that has just a bizarre effect on you too, because you're almost like you're under attack.
Do you remember if the logo was on the stage or above the stage?
I believe the one in the first show was on the stage, and then the second one, I don't even think they even had the logo. I don't think the second time.
Yeah, I just ran over some pictures where, like, the stage was at a school gymnasium or
Yeah.
whatever,
Uh-huh.
and they had to put the sign, the KISS sign, above, like almost hanging from the ceiling, not even in the stage area. And I was like, oh man! But every night almost they flew that KISS sign, and we do it every night in the Midnight Devils. I think, how can we get this giant banner up in this tiny little space? But we do it every single night.
Yeah. Yeah, it was
That's
just an
so cool.
amazing time.
Well, cool. Thank you guys. I hate to bail. I gotta go DJ for the strippers tonight.
All right.
Also, we have
Bill.
a great night. Thank you so much, Sam, for coming in to Mistress Business.
Yes,
And you're
thank
always
you.
welcome back. You're
And
welcome.
Bill, thank you. It's always a pleasure talking to you. I still got to get you a CD, so I'm gonna try
Yes.
and track it down to get your mailing address.
All right. Thank you, sir, and have a good
Yeah.
run with that band.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'll be looking for you guys.
All right. Thanks, Bill. Bye.
Oh, Sam, thank you so much. All right. Bye. All right. That's very, very cool. So back to the KISS Army. What did you get when it was like a fan club and things like that? What kinds of things what happened in that? Did they get a certain amount of things?
Well,
Was it a certain price or so?
my first contact with the band, I was told after our Terre Haute show sold out that they said KISS wanted to meet me, and I thought, well, I wasn't sure I really wanted to meet them because to me they were a really strange band. The whole idea behind the KISS Army was just to get the band on the radio. We weren't trying to do anything but that, and by that time,
Right.
we'd already succeeded. Well, my
Sweet.
first contact with the management, they wrote me a letter and said they wanted to start the KISS Army with me, and they wanted to run it out of Terre Haute, Indiana. And I was under the impression I was going to have a job with them. And I was involved in some of the promotions when they came to Terre Haute, and they had a entourage meet them at the airport, and we did a thing at the radio station where they wouldn't allow their music to be played, where the band actually got to play KISS music, which was kind of a revenge thing. And then
Right.
the management flew me to New York in a couple of months later, and for KISS's New Year's show, and I was doing interviews with the Rolling Stone. I was under the assumption that they were just grooming me for a job because that's what the letter said. And
Wow.
slowly but surely, a few months would go by, and then I think it was like 5 or 6 months later, I got a letter from a company out in LA, and they informed me that they were running the KISS Army, and that they were hoping that I would just stick around as a consultant. And out of their gratitude, they gave me, which was called, I guess at the time, a KISS Care Package, just to give me an idea what some of the things were that they were going to sell. Well, back in those early days, they were just lucky to have a couple of T-shirts and a tour program.
Oh, okay.
I think they maybe did belt buckles at the same time, but there really wasn't a lot of merch around at that time because people just weren't thinking about stuff like that. So
Right.
they kept me around, and they were really nice about, we kept in contact, and occasionally they'd contact me and ask me what I thought of certain things they were selling. And the funny thing about it is they were out in LA, and they weren't really KISS fans. They admitted they weren't fans. They admitted that they had worked for other artists, and they just so happened to have the KISS account. And so they were picking my brain as to why I thought KISS worked and why it worked for me. And the relationship went pretty well for 3 years. And at one time, I even flew out there to LA just to see the KISS Army headquarters and see how things were, and to meet the people who were really nice to me. And then after a while, I think I got kind of disenchanted because I wasn't getting the tickets like I was getting, or the other perks that I was getting. And
Right.
I guess becoming disenchanted because I was working at a warehouse job, and the KISS Army was in LA. So I think that was like the beginning of when we just kind of just like fell apart. And it's just the way it went. And then KISS went on to other things that were to me non-KISS like their solo albums, a movie, and You know, and it wasn't the same as the band that I had followed in '74.
Right.
My heart was still in it, but that's like what I was trying to explain to Sam why I really wasn't following the band as closely when they were in Australia and places like that, because that had been, I don't know how many years after I initially saw them. But that happens, you know. It's just like growing pains. And then eventually I
That's
came
true.
back. Eventually I came back into the fold when the Revenge album came out, and I was working for Columbia House in the warehouse. Here I was shipping out Kiss products and getting teased by my coworkers.
Yeah.
Getting teased by my coworkers because they said, "Hey, this guy was the Kiss guy," and so they joked about it because, you know, here I was. They knew about the Kiss Army, but here I was working, you know, shipping out Kiss stuff on a forklift for them.
Oh,
And
I say,
one of
yeah.
the young kids said, "Had you heard Kiss's new album Revenge?" And I said, "No, I hadn't." So he got told me about it, and I picked one up, and I came back in the fold. And then also about that time was when Kiss started doing their conventions, where they would go into a city and you'd spend like 12 hours with them. I think you spent like $100 to get in, and they played unplugged, and eventually that's what got the band, the original four, back together. But
Wow.
yeah, so
Okay.
that's when, like I said, I kind of came back into the fold about that time.
Awesome.
And
Oh,
now I've
that's
never,
so cool.
and since then I've never left the fold because, you know, it's just a totally different situation. I mean, I was a kid when I started it, and good God, I'm in my 60s now, so you know, you just learn a lot from it. No regrets.
That's true. Yes. So do you still have it? Is it still going on, or the
Well,
Kiss
no,
Army, or is
it's
this
run
just a
by.
lesson?
Well, you know, I never actually had anything to do with it, and it's been through different variations. The band still runs it, of course, and it's their baby, and that's just, you know, that's the way it is, and that's fine because that's just the way the music business works.
Absolutely. There's always something, there's always a change in this, always something different, always changing up different things. And
Yeah.
I just think it's pretty cool that,
Oh, it is. I think
you know,
it's one of the best stories you're ever going to hear, where a kid in Terre Haute, Indiana, gets to meet his rock and roll heroes in his. I mean, come on, that just doesn't happen. I don't care
yeah,
if
it's
you're
true.
not a non-Kiss fan, and I still think the Kiss Army is probably one of the coolest band names
I
for a
love
band
it. I
anywhere.
do.
And
Yes.
they should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Just the Kiss Army itself.
That is amazing. I love that. That is really cool. And it's also so cool when you get to meet your favorite band, and that you're doing all this for.
Yeah.
And I as a promoter, like, well, I don't promote, I don't, let me see, let me say this again. I don't do like the bookings and things like that for bands. I basically do the promotions, like get you noticed, get you
Right.
on my show, and
Right.
put you on my page. I want to get people to know you, of your music or what you do, no matter what it is. I want people to see you, and that's how I promote. So,
Yeah. And you probably
and
have a lot of fun doing it too, don't you?
I do. I sure do. I am having a ball doing this. And I'm meeting a lot of nice people. I'm getting involved in a lot of different things, and some things that are behind the scenes, some things that are coming up that are, I'm part of a project called Rosemary Street. And I was like a background actress,
Uh
like
huh.
the background scenes kind of people. And I'm telling you, I had 100%. I was in my element. I was like, oh, I love this. I love this. I want to do this. So anytime there's a camera or any kind of thing going on, I want to be in front of it. Like a
Yeah.
lot of my friends say, they want to be behind it. They don't want to be in front of it. Not me. I want to be where the action is. I
Yeah.
want to see what's going on. So
You,
yeah,
you
but
don't you don't lack for enthusiasm.
that's it. I gotta keep learning stuff.
Right.
And when you said that you met your band, and it's an amazing feeling when you can actually meet those
Oh yeah.
people and it's like you felt starstruck, like, oh my god, oh look at that, you know. You try not to act crazy and like, oh my lord, there they are, but you know, like I think I would just be like, I would just be uh I would lose my voice. I would just be like my mouth drop, you know. So like Def Leppard, that's my favorite band. That's what I would be like if I met them. Joe Elliott. If I happened to meet those guys, I would be like, you know, Kandi or whoever I'm with. They would have to nudge me, Lise, wake up, get. Say something, say something. I'm like, I'm okay, I'm okay. I'm just in my shocked moment, you know. Yes.
Well, that's good. You still have that enthusiasm.
I do. And I have this strong drive. I have a passion for music, and I'm nonstop. I'm nonstop with it. I always like, I want to bring people to the show. I want to meet people, and definitely want to hear all about you and what you do and everything. And I just think it's so cool how you did get them on the radio. You did what you could because they weren't playing their songs, and
I
you know,
know.
it's like, wait a minute, you know, let's get them on there. And you perceived, you pushed and perceived,
Yep.
and made it happen.
I know.
Absolutely.
We were lucky. We were very lucky.
Oh, that's very, very cool. Now, do you have anybody that still reaches out or that wants to
No.
meet you or things like that? No.
I mean, I have a YouTube page with all my podcasts on there, and because I've been fortunate enough to do some stuff. Kandi's done some stuff with Kandi on there too, so I try to make myself accessible. I enjoy meeting the fans. I enjoy hearing the stories. I'm just happy that almost 50 years later, people even care. So you know, I've enjoyed it. So and it's just a funny story. You could be in a out at a weenie roast somewhere, and somebody will say, "Hey, you know, Bill knows Kiss," and then all of a sudden, everybody just starts, you know, you get into talking about stuff like that. It's
Oh,
different. It's different.
yeah. But going through it when it was actually happening, I'm sure it was the most amazing thing ever.
Yeah, I wouldn't trade. I wouldn't trade any time for that era in the '70s. I just wouldn't. I mean, with
Right.
festival seating and everything else, and the, like I said, the shock factor of seeing bands that you never saw until the show. That was good. It was a lot of fun.
That's so cool. That is so cool. It's just, and what is your favorite Kiss song?
Deuce, the song that's always their opener. Deuce.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, because
Yes.
that was always the call to arms, you know. That was the song that when you were taking somebody who'd never seen the band, that was the first song that they came out and played. And it just always worked for me that way.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, I know they have like these tribute bands, and we have one here in Baltimore, and they're called Cold Gin. And they're the very first time I saw Cold Gin, it just felt like I was there at the Kiss show. It felt like it was Kiss, and they put on an awesome show. They're all so talented, these guys in that band. And I was, of course, always in the front row. That's where my name is, Front Row Promotions and Mistress Business. But when I go out, I'm in the front row. It's what I do. It's the only way to see a show is in the front row, right?
That's right. I agree.
Absolutely. No matter if it costs $1 million. But that's the only way.
Or your ears are bleeding too.
What's that?
Or your ears will be bleeding too. Trust me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. So, you know, there's times that, you know, we can't afford to get those front row seats sometimes. And so the tribute bands are just as where you got to go. But I'm telling you, though, it's a nice experience. I have seen Kiss a few times. I think the last time I seen him was the Psycho Circus. I think I think it was my last one.
That's in the 90s.
Yes. Yeah, I saw them, the Psycho Circus. That was a pretty cool show. And I think, wasn't it that there was labeled that was going to be like their last show?
Well,
musician is ever going to be their last show.
and technically, it was their last show with the originals. Okay,
Oh, okay.
so you could
Okay.
say that. I mean, I'm not making excuses for the band, but I think that was the last one for them. So,
Gotcha.
yeah, I mean,
Right.
it's funny.
Yeah. Oh. So is there does people blah, blah, blah. Sorry about that. Do they still reach out to you? Do they
Who? Kiss or fans or what?
yeah, like fans? Do you still have
Oh,
fans that
oh
reaches out?
yeah. Some really
Oh,
nice people, and some of them who just go to a lot more shows than I would go to. So they just follow the band all the way around.
oh, that's so cool. That's so cool. Yeah. Once you have a favorite, that's what you do. You go and you see every show and anytime you can and everywhere you can be. So, but I think that's really cool. I think it's good at what you do and you're working with the children and you're doing
Yep.
everything. I love seeing kids going to a show as well. I love, when they're that little and they put the makeup on and it's like, oh, I'm more fascinated with them than the show sometimes because I just want to take pictures and I'm like, look at he's so cute. Look at that. And, yeah, we have a friend of ours that comes on the show here sometimes and he's an amazing rocker as well. He's Kobe Reese. Have you heard of him?
No.
Check him out. He's into everything, and he does a lot of rock and roll. He does a lot of stuff. And he has his own music coming out. And he has his own website, and he's 12 years old. And this kid is just like a superstar, amazing, already like on his way, rock star. So, but like I love the kids that love the rock and roll.
Yeah.
Start them early, get them going, and get them going. Now, do you play any instruments?
I'm a guitar player. I play some. I've gotten more into collecting than I have playing. But I always say, I'll tell people that's like that's your rifle in the KISS Army. Because everybody should
there you go. I love it.
I mean, and I play guitar before I ran into KISS though, but
okay.
KISS didn't hurt the situation either because in the 70s they were basically a guitar band. I mean, they had a contract with Gibson, and they always had some great flashy guitars when they were on stage.
Nice, really super cool looking. Yes. Oh, but that's really cool. Yeah, I've always wanted to learn to play some type because I love the music.
Oh yeah.
I just haven't. I have guitars, but I haven't learned it yet.
You can go on YouTube and find some great tutorials.
That's true. That's what I want to do. And I mean, if I could see these little 7-year-olds and little 5-year-olds playing these guitars, I know I can. So
right.
It's all you got to follow that passion if that's what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
So on this part of the show, we normally do the fun zone. We call it the fun. So we always ask nice and like off-topic questions. So if you are a soda drinker, and if you're not, try to choose one. But this is what we always start with. Oh, good. She came right in for this question. Here she is. Hey, girl. I switched on to the fun questions. I'm just about asking him the soda question.
Go for it.
All right. So, are you a Coke drinker or are you a Pepsi drinker?
Oh, Coke, without a doubt.
Kandi wins again.
But you know what? I'm trying to stay away from those things because I'm on a blood thinner right now. So I'm really trying to just get away from that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's not good.
I was doing Diet Cokes like crazy, though. I'm like 4 or 5 a day. And I'm like, oh my God, I actually lost weight when I got rid of the Cokes. So
that's what they said. They said the weight would just drop off if you just stay away from it. Drink
But I
water.
got if it's a favorite drink, it's regular Coke. I mean, I can, I'll do one and that's it. But that's without a doubt.
Yeah. Oh, I'm a Pepsi drinker and Candy's the Coke drinker, so she won again.
And here's the other thing: I don't drink any alcohol, and you really can't drink alcohol when you're in a blood thinner anyway.
No.
But I was never a drinker either, so
Yeah.
Hey, I always
been
knew the commander in chief of the Kiss Army was on my side. So.
I had to be straight like Gina Paul. Remember?
Oh, jeez. Yeah, very true. Yeah, you got it. You got it.
No smoking and no drinking, no drugs.
There you go. That's the
for you.
best way. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, lots of sex and rock and roll, no drugs though.
Well, I'm not even gonna comment anymore about the other stuff because I'm.
Yeah, no, you're good. You're good. You're good.
All right.
All good. Lisa, keep it going.
Because my students hear these podcasts, so they do.
Sam, if you're still watching at all, if you're in the wings at all, Sam, I mean, there. See, I told you I was going to wear them.
There you go. There you go.
All right, keep it going, Lisa.
So, go ahead. All right. So, if we have 2 questions, if you were in a hot tub time machine and you are setting the dial, where are you gonna go?
Oh, 1976.
Absolutely. There you go.
Yeah.
I know
And
Lisa
in
asked
your-
me that question. She actually interviewed me for the first time. This was actually about a year ago. And she asked me that question, and I'm like, I want to go back to 1973 because I want to see Kiss live in concert. Very first show. That's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to steal Lisa's question.
Go
Another
for it.
question. What is on your bucket list, Bill?
Oh wow. Oh man. You mean it's something that I haven't done? I probably to go around the Indy 500 in one of the test cars or something. Because I only live like a mile away from the track, so something like
Cool.
that.
That would be neat. That would be really cool. Mhm.
I'm sure your neighborhood gets a lot of noise complaints around that time.
We don't have. You usually realize when you live in Speedway, you better get used to it because that's what you're here.
Yep.
So, and
Very
we hear noises all the time around here. So, the only good thing is they don't start till like 9 o'clock in the morning. So,
Yeah.
they don't do anything any earlier than that. I don't think they do anything past 6 o'clock either.
Well, that's good.
That's the only bucket
Get
list.
quite
Like
loud
I
with the
said,
Indy.
I don't have any desire to handle snakes or go on a roller coaster or anything like that.
I don't like spiders and snakes.
No, I mean, something that could be on people's bucket list. So,
Oh, that's true.
There's a song about that, Lisa, I think.
I don't like spiders and snakes.
yeah.
I don't care what it takes to love me. I think that's what
Something
it
like
says.
that.
Something like that. Don't quit my day job.
So, Bill, here's a question, and I think I asked you this like once before, but it was a long time ago.
Uh-huh.
For our new listeners, if you were presented with a person that knew nothing about Kiss, didn't know who they were, didn't know the names, the characters, the story, give me the top 3 albums that you would show them that would surely turn them into a Kiss fan.
That's an amazing question. I love that.
The first album, and then Kiss Alive, and then probably Destroyer's the third one. Because you give 3 different styles there.
Right. Okay.
But I always liked the first album. I thought it was very underrated.
The very first one.
Yeah, I thought it was
Like the
very
self-titled.
underrated.
Yeah, that's right.
Because it really wasn't a metal album. Hotter Than Hell was more of a heavy metal album. And the first one was more of a rock and roll album.
Right. Yeah, it was like classic rock.
Yeah.
And there was the disco era.
Well, yeah.
I gotta bring that.
That's the beauty of Kiss music. Like I touched on that very briefly earlier before I had to jump out. It's like, Kiss fans of all ages and all walks of life will turn into Kiss fans for one reason or another. and then they'll like a certain genre of music. So if you want like a pop record, I mean, you could put Unmasked on.
Right.
If you want something more like grungy, you can put on Revenge,
Yeah.
or possibly even Carnival of Souls. I think that would fall in there as well.
Yeah.
You know, you want straight up disco, like Lisa was saying, or in our case, Bill, I better say it correctly, Kisco. You know, put Dynasty on. Put Dynasty. You know, there's so many different genres within the Kiss catalog. Classic, like, I mean, you could put The Elder on. You know, that's the beauty of the Kiss catalog. It's so versatile.
Right.
That is awesome.
Well, yeah, when you think about it, their top songs, Beth. So I mean, how does that even fit in there anywhere? You know?
Yeah, exactly. Here's a kind of a weird question. What is your least favorite Kiss album?
Oh wow! Oh, that's really a pretty good one. It would probably be something like Unmasked. You know, I really didn't care for 80s Kiss because, granted, though I love Bruce Kulick and think he's wonderful, probably the most talented musician ever in the band. But when Kiss took their makeup off, I think they lost their identity for me, and they started to be like more like the hair bands of the 80s, rather than setting the trends as which that they did in the 70s. So any of the 80s, you know, probably would be Unmasked. I mean, and that means I still like the first 3 or 4 or 5 albums, you know.
Right. Yeah.
I think Hotter Than Hell is really cool because it's just very dark.
Hotter Than Hell is a great album. Highly underrated.
Yeah.
I mean, we know the story. You know, the first album comes out, Hotter Than Hell wasn't a real good success. Then they do Dress to Kill. But I think Hotter Than Hell, I mean, all the albums are underrated in their own right, but Hotter Than Hell is a really good one.
Now, let me ask you girls something. Did you guys see Spinning Gold yet? Did you guys see Spinning Gold yet, the Neil Bogart movie?
No.
Really? Well,
no.
Disco Girl, you need to see that. I mean,
Disco Girl.
I mean, because they did a pretty good job on that film. And, of course, there's a lot of kisses in it. But, yeah, you should check it out.
Speaking of documentaries, there's another question I have to ask you. So was it last year or the year before? I think it was the year before when they did that A&E special, that 2-part special.
It was just last summer.
It was last summer. Okay.
Yeah.
So one thing that they talked about is, you know, the story of how the Kiss Army sort of came to be, right? And we all know the classic, you know, the radio station was surrounded by people demanding to hear Kiss. Some guy named Bill Starkey calls in and says, I'll surround your radio station if you don't play Kiss.
Right.
Obviously, that's the cover story. That's the story that everybody's familiar with. But again, for those listeners that are only familiar with that side of it, can you fill us into what actually happened?
Yeah, I mean, I like, as one local Terre Haute writer said, that the Kiss Army was actually more like Chinese water torture. We pursued the radio station for many months, trying different things like letters, call-ins. I took 4 kids. We painted them up like Kiss, and we took them to the mall to Terre Haute just to get, you know, some sort of interest going. And occasionally we would get a song on the radio, and you could tell that the station was teasing us. Like, they wouldn't play the Kiss song till well after 11 o'clock, or they played a song and then they wouldn't say who the band was. So we'd have to call in and complain, say, hey, you didn't say it was Kiss, and they'd laugh and hang up on us. Or they would play Love Theme from Kiss, which is an instrumental off the first, and then they would do it as a segue into the news. See, they were doing little things to tease us, to show that they were listening to us, but they would never give in to us. And eventually they gave in when Kiss Alive came out, and they wanted to borrow my albums. So I was taking my albums to the radio station so they could use them, because I said, well, what happened? And they said, well, again, the disc jockey didn't like the band and he threw the original albums away. So here I was getting the satisfaction knowing they were using my albums. And eventually the disc jockey said, you know, those stupid letters you always wrote during the summer, why don't you write like 5 of them the day before the show, and we'll read them off to the people at 5 o'clock during rush hour, and we'll call it the Kiss Army Letter of the Day. So Rich Dickerson was brilliant. This was all his plan. and he was the guy that we basically went up against because he was the program director. So we would do the Kiss Army letter of the day, and we were writing stupid stuff like, well, Kiss was better than the Beatles, and Kiss was, just anything we could to just continually stoke the fire between us. Now, the bad thing was Rich always had the last word, so he would call us a bunch of goofballs or morons, or say that we only had enough IQ for like a 3-chord rock song or something. And eventually the concert sold out. And like I was telling Lisa, at that time, we had a lot of bands in Terre Haute who came through, since it's a college town, and none of them, those sold out. And they had the airplay that Kiss never got. And Kiss's people were curious, and they said, what did you do different about the Kiss promotions that you didn't do for Leonard Skinner and the Doobie Brothers and all that? And the guy said, all we can tell you is this crazy kid and his group kept calling themselves the Kiss Army. And they were asking for Kiss music for a long time. And then that's when Kiss said, we want to meet this guy. And that's really what it was. It was a long process over several months. And even Rich Dickerson himself said, I told Rich one day, and he's since retired from radio, and I said, do you hear what they're saying about the Kiss Army? They're saying that we surrounded the radio station and you wouldn't play Kiss music, and we wouldn't let you out of the radio station until you played the music. And Rich laughed. He says, hey, I like that story. Let's stick with it. I said, but it's not true. I said,
so every time you hear somebody, or like on a documentary or wherever, every time you hear that original story, like the Kiss Army surrounds the radio station, I mean, what are your reactions to it? I know it's a long time ago that it supposedly happened, but I mean, what are your thoughts about it? What goes through your head when you hear that?
First off, Kandi, the band is the only one that's saying that. Nobody else. It's in this day and the age of the internet, everybody can go online and find out just about anything through Wikipedia and all that. Kiss is the only one that's saying that. Why they're saying that, I don't know. I used to have a funny theory that I thought that Gene was kind of confused and thought about when they did come to Terre Haute that day to play, they did come to the radio station, and the radio station was surrounded by kids because the key people were there because they knew Kiss was going to be there. So when they arrived in the limousines from the airport, they came down to the radio station and they played disc jockey for just 20 minutes or something like that. And I just assumed that he was just confused with the fact that kids were surrounded the radio station. But if you had History 1 when it came out, that story first hit in History 1. And that's when I first heard of it. And then, oddly enough, I knew Gene was sincere because I saw him at backstage at one of the Kiss convention things they were doing. And he said, can you get me a picture of the kids surrounding the radio station? And I said, what are you talking about? He says, that picture of the kids. And I hated to say it. I said, that picture doesn't exist. The look he gave me was like he didn't want to hear that. So all of us guys would joke every once in a while. They'd say we'd make a fake picture for him, and we'd go back down to the radio station and surround it and take our picture and send it to him like it was 1975.
So then how about that footage on the Kiss VH1 special where there's footage of people surrounding this building demanding to hear Kiss? That's fake.
No, it was a Kiss thing. It wasn't our thing.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it was a Kiss event. It just wasn't our event. I mean, because even my friends who know me, they always laugh about that, surrounded the radio station and you changed my life and all this kind of stuff. And, like I said, we didn't intentionally do the Kiss Army because we wanted to meet the band. We thought the music was good enough to be on the radio and deserved to be on the radio just as much as Aerosmith or anybody else that was already getting airplay we weren't getting. We didn't want to meet the band. I didn't want to start a fan club or anything like that. And
but Bill, it's not only that. I mean, obviously Kiss music deserves to be heard. Like it's great. But I'm going to quote Sam Spade, who we just had here a few moments ago. He talks about the Kiss Army being a place where you can belong as a fan. And to me, that's extremely important because, I'll tell you, when I was growing up, I was the only Kiss fan in my school. Nobody else cared. Everyone hated on me. Nobody gave a crap. But then the Kiss are right. Like it's taboo to like Kiss, right?
Yeah.
but that, you know, then you find out about the Kiss Army and really dig deep and understand what it's really about. I mean, it's such a beautiful thing, and a lot of fans, you know, feel like they can belong. Like we're powerful, we're the Kiss
Right.
Army, we're invincible. You
Right.
know what I mean?
Yeah, in the movie, the Neil Bogart movie, Bogart credits him. He gets credit for starting the Kiss Army in the movie. And I was warned back in March when it came out, and I wasn't upset about it. I just laughed. But somebody tried to argue with me and say, "Well, what's wrong with that?" And I said, what's wrong with it is that to me, the Kiss Army is the story of. It's about the fans. I said he didn't take the Kiss Army away from me. He took the story away from the fans because the fans were the one that started it. Not a record executive, not a producer or anything like that. It was a fan movement, and he was taking it away from us by claiming it as his own. But I also was said in movies and stuff like that, that's creative licenses. You can get by with stuff like that just to make the story better.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
But you're right. It's a place where you can belong, and what helps it is the fact that Kiss has encompassed so many different decades.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, like. You guys are like Psycho Circus people, and I go all the way back to the 70s, and some of my best friends are 80s fans, and all they talk about is Eric Carr and Bruce was like and stuff like that. And you know, that's awesome. Everybody's got a different era. In some ways, the Beatles were like that. You had the Beatles, and you had Sgt. Pepper's, and then you had the Let It Be, you know, and of course, it's the last 5 decades, but they went through different transformations.
That's right. Sure. That's it. Yeah. That's the one. Mm-hmm.
Now, we talked about this before, but it's worth bringing up again. The plaque that you were given on stage with Kiss, do you still have that?
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Too bad my camera's not working. I'm looking at it right now.
No, it's all good. No worries.
Oh, so cool.
Now, is the plan still on if you know the Kiss Army, so to speak, gets inducted into the Hall of Fame, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? Would you donate that still, or is that off the table?
Yeah, definitely. Oh, yeah. But I don't think that's ever going to happen. I really don't. I mean, because I've talked to some people who are in the what do you call it? The auction business, and
right.
I think it's more likely that a bidder will come after it than the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame won't, you know, give Kiss an inch. Which is, I'm just saying that was just an idea of mine because I think. You know, the Deadheads have their thing. Jimmy Buffett has the Parrot Heads. Everybody's got their own little name for a fan group. I just think the Kiss Army in itself is just a really unique name. And to quote my co-founder, Jay Evans, he said, I liked it better because a fan club sounds too wimpy to me, he said. So, you know.
Right. Now, we just passed, another thing I want to bring up, we just passed the 3rd anniversary, I believe, of J.R. Smalling's passing. And for those of you who are wondering who J.R. Smalling is, if you own the Alive 1 record or have heard it at all, that classic intro, you wanted the best and you got it, the hottest band in the land, that is J.R. Smalling. And he played such a huge part in the 70s with the band. And I know you've had some experiences with them. Can you share some of those with us?
Yes. The first time I met JR, he was a very demanding person, very imposing presence. And he gave me this card and he said, here's where you're supposed to go after the show. And it was an address to like this pizza place. And he said, he says, I want you to round up as many women as you can. And I'm like thinking, I couldn't get a date for the prom and you're wanting me to round up women for Kiss. And I said, how much? And he says, I want you to go up and down the street and just invite people to this party. And I just didn't have the gumption to do it. I was more concerned about getting my buddies in who had helped me, you know, paint up as Kiss and go to the mall, and Jay Evans and those kind of guys. Those were the guys that I wanted to reward. And, you know, I just thought, you know, I wasn't going to try to do that. And fortunately, one of the disc jockeys who I think he told the same thing to the disc jockey, he tried to get some girls from a local all-girls Catholic school to come. And and they did come to the party, and it was funny. And I laughed and I said that was probably the only night Kiss never got laid or something, and it was in Paris. And partly responsible for that, probably. So I wasn't able to pick up the harem, and maybe that's why the Kiss Army ended up being out in L.A. I don't know. But that was my experience with JR. And after that, I didn't see the band again until the 76 tour. And by that time, I think he had been replaced as much as the original guys did, which I didn't agree with. But, that's the way a coin did things back then. So, but that was my good and only JR story. I had better stories about Big John Hart, who was also away. And Big John was he was a really good guy too. And he would let me into a lot of the parties and show me where the parties were. And back then it was really cool because you weren't supposed to see the band without their makeup.
Right.
Or just it was just a privilege. So he let me bring guys up to the certain floors and stuff like that. And to this day, those guys still tell me how much fun that was. So, but that Big John was a good guy too. Big John was a good guy.
Yeah, much love for Big John. We miss him for sure. We miss the guy. All right, so yes, absolutely. Okay, so we are running out of time, Bill. We want to get you on your way. I think you said you have class tomorrow, right?
Oh yes, it's a school night.
It is a school night, even though it's the summer.
Oh, we're year round though. We're in our second week already.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we're in our second week of school.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, listen,
Wow.
I apologize that I was a little bit late earlier.
But you're here. You're here. That's
I'm here. And, it's always a pleasure talking to you, Bill. We just appreciate you so much taking the time out of your evening to be here and hang out with us. And for being so cool to Sam. Sam is a huge fan for sure.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Yeah, Sam's amazing.
Yes.
Guys, for those of you that want to see what Sam does, if you're into hair metal, a new wave sort of glam boogie rock, check out the midnightdevils.com. They've got so much merch for sale, the coolest stuff, and they just pressed this on vinyl. So you guys got to get your copy of that.
I love the name. I love the name.
Yes, absolutely. And that's where these came from. Yeah. That was from Sam, Little Devil Horns. But Bill, for those of our fans, listeners that want to look you up and see what you're all about, where can everybody find you, Bill?
You can find me on Facebook under William R. Starkey, and check out my YouTube site. I got like 30 some podcasts in there, including some things we've done. Yep. And
Sweet.
Just trying to keep people entertained, I guess. And the Kiss Army story is very entertaining.
Absolutely. Well, Bill, we thank you so much. Any shout outs you want to give? Anyone you want to say hi to before you go?
No, not really. I'm just more upset that my camera didn't work tonight. I mean, really disappointed.
Oh, yeah.
Well, hey, listen, it's all good. We all know you're a powerful and attractive man, Bill. So
there you go.
Yes.
There you go. Awesome. Yes. Mm-hmm.
All right. So, Lisa, is there anything final from you before we put a bow on everything?
I think we nailed it all, and I think everything's good. Yes, we're good. Mm-hmm.
All right. Yeah. Again, Bill, thank you for being here. Always a pleasure.
Okay.
You're the best. Hey, listen, Lisa's gonna go offline. If you don't mind staying on with us for just like a couple minutes, that'd be great.
I will. I'll stay online.
All right, Lisa. Go ahead.
Thank you for coming. All right. Thank you all for coming to Mistress Business. Thank you all for coming to the show and watching this amazing interview with Bill Starkey, Kandi, and I, Mistresses, on the Mistress Business Show. One day I'll get my singing, down to pat, so then it won't be scaring y'all. But anyway, until that day, come back to Mistress Business on Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Enjoy our show.
I think we got a special show next week. Next Tuesday night is August 8th. Happens to be my birthday, right? I think.
Yes. Absolutely. We have a certain particular person for you on that show. You want to release it?
I think I know. Oh, yes. I'll put my neck out.
Who is it? Yeah.
Guys, if I'm correct, if Lisa got the confirmation, we actually have Rick Rule from Every Mother's Nightmare. He will be joining us next Tuesday night.
He will be.
And there's a
here.
bit of a story
Absolutely.
there. There's a bit of a story there, Bill.
Yes.
Rick Rule loves to bite my neck, Bill.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely. Yes, he does.
All right,
right.
Lisa, go ahead and put a bow on it.
Thank you all for coming to Mistress Business. Come back again next Tuesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. See the mistresses in action. Bye now.
Bye.